Hi there, and welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today I'm going to show you how to make a jalapeno cheddar pull-apart bread. This recipe is so easy, and you can adapt it for things that you have at home, so don't worry about that. I'm going to go over all of the different variations that you can make with the ingredients that you have on hand, and it's quick, easy, and delicious. And then we're going to make this incredible dipping sauce for our pull-apart bread. So the first thing we want to do is get our Ninja Foodi preheated, because this recipe comes together in about 10 minutes and we want it to be super hot when we get the bread in the Ninja Foodi. So I'm going to turn it on, hit the broil. 10 minutes is what we want. We're going to hit the start button. Now from start to finish, this usually takes about 10 minutes. It might take me a little bit longer because I'm talking during the process, but super easy. And it's kind of like making biscuits, but just a little bit more laid back. All right, so we have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I did not worry about sifting it this time. I usually do, but I didn't worry about it. And we have 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder, as well as 1/4 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt. And that's optional. You probably don't really need the salt because we're gonna add some cheddar cheese, and that has a saltiness to it. So you don't really have to add the additional salt, but I usually do. All right, the next thing we want to do is add in our butter. This is 1/4 cup of butter, or 1/2 stick, and it's in just little pieces. And I had it in the refrigerator until just before we started filming, because you do want your butter cold for this. I'm just gonna mix it up. Mix it in with the salt and the baking powder and the flour. And then you can use either a fork, or what I like to use is a pastry blender, and I go through and cut the butter. This is the same process you do in making biscuits, but we just don't have to be quite as exact, and we don't have to get the pebbles quite as small as you want them when you're making biscuits. So it's a little bit easier of a recipe. And I always get flour all over the place when I make anything with flour. All right, so we just go through this. If your butter's sticking a little bit, just gently get it off of the pastry blender or your fork and start again. All right, that looks great. Now I'm just making a little well there at the bottom. Get all that butter off. The butter's very important because that's what gives us the flakiness and just the texture of the bread, because it sort of is a biscuit, but it's got an outside like a biscuit, and then inside is a cross between a biscuit and bread. So it's absolutely delicious. All right, the next thing I'm going to add is 1/3 cup of sour cream. Now, if you didn't have sour cream, you could use buttermilk. You could use yogurt. Greek yogurt would be great. If you use buttermilk, add another couple of tablespoons and omit the water. And I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of water. Then I just sort of give it a little bit of a mix. Just to kind of incorporate the ingredients a little bit. And now we're going to add in our cheese. This is 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, and I used it right out of a bag because that's what I had, but you can freshly grate it if you have a block. That's fine too. That's what I usually do, but I went the easy route today. Mix that all together, and it's not going to look like it's coming together, so you're going to think, oh my gosh, I have ruined the recipe. You have not. If it looks real crumbly like this, you're right on track, okay? And then I have 2 tablespoons of jalapeno pepper that I de-seeded and chopped up in about 1/4 inch dice. If you don't have jalapeno peppers, but you want that little bit of kick, add in about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, or chipotle powder would work, or whatever kind of, spicy spice you like. I mean, you could really make these with an Old Bay seasoning and the cheddar, and oh my gosh, that would be delicious. So there's tons of different ways. If you didn't have cheddar, you could use a Mexican blend. I mean, you can really just customize this. You can even add in some corn. I think that would be really good as well. All right, so when it gets like this and it's kind of not coming together anymore, it's in like these, I don't know, big pieces kind of thing, and some loose flour still. That's fine. We're gonna dump it out onto our cutting board and finish it up. So you're gonna wanna have a little bit extra flour available. I have about 2 tablespoons here, and I'm just gonna put down maybe 1.5 or so. You don't need a lot because we don't wanna dry out our dough too much. Spread it out, and now we're just gonna dump this right out on the cutting board. And it's gonna look like a pile of a mess, and that is okay. So it doesn't resemble a dough at all, and that's fine. Because now, when we start to knead this a little bit, we're gonna bring it all together and we will slightly melt the butter. You don't wanna handle this too long. You don't wanna use a mixer to mix this up or a KitchenAid, because you don't want all the butter to be melted, or you won't have that great of an outcome. All right, so now I just push down to kind of bring it together, and then fold it over. When I make biscuits, I do kind of like an envelope thing, but we don't even need to worry about that with this, because we're not gonna get those tall layers. That's not what we want. But we do want the inside to be kind of fluffy, and it's gonna rise a little bit. So I just continue to do this until it all comes together and all this loose flour. Like, I can pick up this piece, but you can see that there's still other parts that are not incorporated. So we're gonna continue to do that, to do the same motion. Press, pull back, until we get it all incorporated. And I do kind of turn it out of habit, but you don't even need to worry about that for this recipe, really. And then I just kind of bring this up, put it there, push it in, turn it, and keep going. All right, that's good. Now if there's a little bit left, I mean, you could do it again, or you don't have to worry about it. But that's good. That's what we want it to be like. So it's a soft ball. It kind of would come apart if you pulled it, obviously, because we're going to make little balls out of this. But that's exactly how you want it now. It's not real crumbly. It's not real dry. If it's super dry and crumbly, add a little bit more water and just knead it a few more times. But don't overwork it, because you don't want all the butter to melt. So I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands real quick, and then we'll get the pan prepped and get it in the Ninja Foodi to bake. All right, so I just have about a minute to go. Now, if I wasn't talking so much, I would be ready by the time that this ran out. But I'm not gonna be ready because I need to talk about the pan for a few minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and just give myself a little more time. Probably not 4 minutes, but we'll see, right? It might take 4 minutes. All right, so the pan I'm using is this gorgeous, gorgeous flour pan. This is an item from Home Pressure Cooking. I will link to it below. I really recommend it. It's small, but it is mighty, let me tell you. So I tried the recipe with all different kinds of pans. I tried it with even the crisping tray. I tried it with my Fat Daddy-O ring pan. I tried it with my bundt pan, and nothing worked as well as this one. So this is the one I'm using. I'm not saying that you have to use this. You don't. But you want to make sure that you're using something that is really non-stick. And then be careful, because the size of it, you don't want too many layers, or the insides aren't going to cook in the short bake time. So if you have any questions about that, you can always ask me in Ninja Foodi 101, or send me an email at louise@thesaltedpepper.com, because I do not want you to use the wrong pan and have bad results. I'm more than willing to help you, and I will have the instructions for various different pans, or at least my suggestions, in the written post, so you can always check that out. All right, even though this is nonstick, and let me tell you, this is a really great nonstick pan, because I don't know if you can see in here, but these are a lot of little petal grooves. So for everything to come out so beautifully, it is very impressive. But I still am going to butter it. It's also a very thick-walled pan, so it's a good quality pan. And that makes a huge difference, honestly. So if you have a thinner type of bundt pan, you may need to make adjustments in your temperature, because it's gonna cook a little bit faster on the outside. And again, I'll go over that in the written post so that you can have more information. All right, so I'm taking about a teaspoon of butter on my pastry brush and I'm brushing it in. Now this is kind of a difficult pan to get prepped because of all the little nooks and crannies in it, but I do my best and that's all you need to do. I've made the bread, I think, 3 times in this pan, and every single time it came out perfect. The Fat Daddy-O pan, no matter what I did to prep it, and you know I love the Fat Daddy-O pans, it always stuck. And then the bundt pan, I had to increase the amounts to get it to look right. Otherwise it just comes out like looking kind of puny. And then it didn't really cook as well. So this was the pan that did the best job, and I am a firm believer in using the tool that will work the best. So hopefully you have this one. And if not, you might want to grab it because it's great for a ton of things. In fact, I made my banana bread with praline topping in this pan. Not only is it gorgeous, but it is delicious. And I will link to that recipe right up there for you guys in case you want to try that out. All right, so the pan is all buttered. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. I just got it in as many places as I could. Now, we take our little dough ball here and pinch off a little bit. No certain size, you don't have to worry about it. And I just sort of roughly form it into a ball. It doesn't have to be a smooth ball. Don't handle it too much. Just sort of roll it up and throw it in. And what I try to do with the balls is just kind of get them spaced out in the bottom, and then I layer them up. That way when they come out, you're able to pull them apart. That's why it's called pull-apart bread. I haven't found any difference if some balls are bigger than others. So this is a real simple recipe, and I've tried it a gazillion times different ways, and it has really worked out fine, except even the one that stuck tasted delicious. It was cooked fine. It was just a mess to get out of the pan, but we ate it. It was good. And wait till you see this dipping sauce. It's delish. All right, so I'm just gonna keep going here. All right, that's it. So you can see, I mean, I pretty much haphazardly just threw the balls in and just tried to make it as even as possible. And that's all you need to do. Then you're gonna put it on the rack in the low position. Put it inside here. Put it in there carefully. Close the lid back down. Hit the on button. We're gonna go to bake roast. 375 is what you want. 15 minutes, which it defaults to is what we want. And then leave it alone. Now, you can check on it in about 10 minutes. Sometimes some of the Ninja Foodies will brown more on one side than they do the other. Mine sometimes does. And then I just kind of twirl the little rack around a little bit, and then I get more even browning. Make sure you let it go a full 9 minutes before you check on it. You don't want to interrupt the cooking process. You might not get as good of a rise on your pull-apart bread. All right, so it's been just about 9 minutes, and now is a good time to go ahead and peek at your pull-apart bread and just see, are any of the sides getting more done than others? Over here, it looks a little bit more brown. Over here, it doesn't, so I'm just gonna flip that around like that. You can also do a temperature, although I know for sure they're not done right now, but you can also do a temperature. You can put your thermometer in there and see what it's reading, and mine's about 170 maybe. Still not done. In fact, I can get a little bit of the dough out, so I know we're not ready yet. If for some reason your tops are getting too brown, drop your heat down a little bit. So from 375, drop it down to 350, and then you might need to let it cook another couple minutes. If you're gonna go by temperature, which I usually do, just, I don't know, because I have a thermometer and I just use it, I usually try to get to about 200 degrees or so. It also finishes cooking when we cool it on the cooling rack, so. All right, so we're coming up to the last few seconds, and I did check a couple of times, and the tops of mine are getting brown, but not too brown for my liking. But again, if it was getting too brown for your liking, decrease your temperature some, and that will decrease the browning. Or you could even put a silicone cover on top at this point, and that would, you know, prevent some of that browning. So there's tons of ways you can fix that, but I like mine really crunchy on the outside and then soft and tender on the inside, so this timing works perfectly for me. And we are done. So literally, you make this bread in less than 30 minutes. It is awesome. Love it. All right. Oh, it looks beautiful. Now, the moment of truth. Will it release from the pan like it has all the other times? All right, let's grab this rack out. Be very careful when you use this rack, especially with something small like this. It likes to slip around. The way that I test to see if it's gonna come out is shake it up and down. And if it just lifts up like it's doing right now, you know it's gonna come out perfectly, and you don't have to run a cake tester or something else around the edges. So you can even just flip it like this and lift it up, okay? It's that easy. If you didn't wanna do that, I'll show you a different way to do it. Let me put this back in. Let me move these here. Put your pan down. Put your cooling rack. Now you don't want to push down because you don't want to smush your little toppings there, the little pull apart pieces. And then just carefully flip it over. That's what I usually do. And then just lift it up. And there you go. So we have two ways that we can serve this bread. So, and you know what? I put mine back in a little bit wrong. I can see where one side's smushed, but anyway, it's good enough. So there's two ways. You can serve it this way. You could pull these leaves off and keep going down, or petals, whatever they're called. Or you can serve it this way, which would be a little bit more traditional, you know, because you can see where the balls are and you just pull them apart. So either way, it's beautiful. All right, now you don't have to let that cool too much, but real quick, I'm gonna make up our sauce. Oh, before I do that, let me show you, because I know people are really interested in how easy it is to clean a pan. This one's super easy. I mean, really easy. I just rinse it out with some soap and water, and all of the stuff that, you know, there's a few little pieces of probably the cheddar cheese that is on the sides. It comes right off. It's super easy. All right, so now for this sauce. This is amazing. We have 2 tablespoons of butter. Let me move that there. Let me turn that off now. 2 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 tablespoons of honey, and about 2 teaspoons of your favorite hot sauce. I'm using Cholula. And then I just put the honey into the butter. The honey isn't heated, it's just room temperature. And then the hot sauce in. Now, if you were gonna make this type of a sauce for, like, let's say chicken wings, I do it a little bit differently. It works, oh my gosh, it's amazing. But I do equal amounts of butter and hot sauce and a tiny bit of honey just to give a little bit of sweetness. But because this bread is kind of on the spicy side, I like a little more sweetness in the sauce. And then I just mix it together until it's incorporated. And it makes a perfect dipping sauce for your bread. And you can make it as spicy as you want, of course. You can also make your bread spicier. One of the test batches, I put in some chipotle. I put in a 1/4 teaspoon of chipotle with the 2 jalapeno peppers. I thought it was just a tad bit too spicy. I mean, it was delicious, but it's just a tad bit too spicy for me, just a tad. All right, so here we go, our pull-apart bread. So I'm gonna go from this side here. So you would have people just pull it off. I'm gonna pull a bunch of them off so you can see. And then you would pull this off. This would be 3. Pull it off. Nice and fluffy in the center. Perfectly cooked. A little cheesy. Looks amazing. Yummy. And then let's say we're gonna do it from the flower side. Just simply pull one of the flowers, pull one of the petals, pull the petal, and then you get down here to where the ball is, and it just pulls apart because we made all those little balls, so they're really easy to pull apart. So there you go, jalapeno cheddar pull-apart bread. Easy, breezy, and delicious. All right, so let me get, my favorite are the outside pieces, really. I love them, love the crunch. So let's dip it in this sauce. My butter kind of rose up. I didn't incorporate that too much. I'm gonna have to whip it back up. All right, here we go. Perfect. Oh my gosh, that's good. All right, let me whip this up a little bit more. Not really whip it, mix it. Now that piece was not spicy at all. I don't think I got any jalapeno in that one. So let me find one with a jalapeno pepper. All right, so this looks like a good one. And I'm gonna take a taste it without the sauce. Oh, it's so soft inside. Mmm, perfection. Mmm, so good. Well, I hope you enjoy this one. As always, switch up the ingredients, use the basic recipe, switch up the peppers for something else, switch up the seasonings for something else, and make it yours and make it delicious.